All right, 141, here we are. I've duotoned my background image. I've duotoned this kind of creepy guy. And now I'm ready to adjust the rest of this stuff. So first I'll kind of show you a couple of things that we're going to look at for checking this project out. I'm going to need you to get a new window out. So if you look at window under output, we have several choices in here, and one of them is going to be separations preview. We're going to use that to check essentially the two colors that we make. So we're only representing the image in two colors, either black or the Pantone color value that we picked, or percentages of each. And I'll show you what I mean in a second here. So I've picked this one out. We'll open it up. And I'm going to turn the separations on. And what you're going to notice when you go to look at it is that we now have, in addition to our standard CMYK profile, we have this Pantone 395C color that's been added. So it's taking over our color library element that we looked at before. What I want eventually to have happen is if you check the entire document out, you should see nothing if you have the black and Pantone 395C turned off. You shouldn't see a thing, and it's kind of hard to see on this, but in mine as an example, I am seeing some detail in my sketchy still, so it's telling me that I've got values of cyan, magenta, and yellow in this piece still. So what I'll do is I'm going to turn that back on, and for now, I'm going to turn separations off. The next thing that I want you to do is take a look at your swatches tab, your swatches panel over here. And what you'll notice is you have a bunch of preset swatches that you're working with. And then you have this new one added, Pantone 395C. What I'd like you to do is go in and delete all these unneeded ones. You can just select these and move them to the trash icon, or you can hit delete with them. So I just select them, hit delete. There we go. Delete. I think I'm getting a dialog window. Here we go. Yeah. What you're going to want to leave is you're going to want to leave Pantone, you're going to want to leave black, and you're going to want to leave paper. These will be the three that you're primarily going to work with, and then make some new ones in addition to that as well. Now that these are kind of cleared out, I'm going to go ahead and start manipulating the document. So what I'll look at first is I think that, for example, the white text, doesn't quite have the contrast that I like with that bright, punchy yellow background. So that's something that I think I'm going to turn black to start. So I'm just going to double click through here and select this. And what I'm going to do is, instead of selecting the color just by clicking the color wheel, I'm now going to work with my true black. This is a 100% black plate. I'll click that, and I've applied the color black to this text. Now, that's interesting. It's pretty easy because it's just one click. Let's try the same thing. I think what I'll do with this subtitle is I'm going to apply this as Pantone 395C. So I'll click that. Just click off so you can see. One more second. I'll click that to apply it. There we go. We got it that time. Now, what I don't really like about that is, again, it's really, really low contrast. I kind of would like to maybe have an in-between on this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight this text, and I'm going to go up to the tint value of this color. So where it says in the swatches I have tint, and this is different than just changing the opacity. I'll kind of talk about it more in class, but this is basically changing the amount of ink dot coverage you're going to have on the plate that you output. It's not the same as making that less visible or more visible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this down and just kind of lessen it, and I'm going to put mine at about a 50%. In fact, I could dial it in if I want to. I'll do a 50% tint, and I'll click off of it. There, I kind of like the way that looks. It's got white, but it also kind of carries through some of that yellow color. So what I'm going to do is I might want to use that over again. So I'm not just having colors bouncing all over the place. I'm thematically working with swatches in Duotone throughout this document. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight it, and I'm going to go down to the little new swatch icon and click it. And now it's going to make a tinted swatch version which is kind of useful. If I want to go back and just apply this elsewhere, I now have it. I can do the same thing with black as well. I could make tinted versions of black, essentially to make grays and that type of stuff. So what I think I'll do is I'll go through and look at all the spots where I maybe would change things black first to start, and apply my values, and then see how much further I can go with it. So what I'm going to do is go through and say, all right, I for sure want to make this text black, so apply my black to it. I think I like the way that my spine content looks if it matches the front, so I'll put that Pantone 395C. If I want to, I can also mix and match in there. I might change for different contrast scenarios, like I'll take my sketchy and I'll make that black. Oh, got that last letter. I'm going to go through and now I'm going to play with this too. I think I'd like to see that type maybe as a black and play with that. But first I'm going to go hide this background layer that I've set up with my black. I'm going to hide that. I'm going to take all my text and tone that black too. Why not? A lot of black going on here. There, that's a true black. Of course, now I've really got a contrast issue. So I'll turn back on that background layer. And I'm just doing this so I can use a different function I haven't used yet. One thing I haven't used in my swatches is paper white. I'm going to point that out, that what you don't necessarily want to do is just go in and pick the color white, because you may not get a true white. This swatch that says paper indicates basically lack of color altogether in a print-based document. So if I click it, one more time, there we go. Now I have white as a background to work with. And I can also go through and work with changing tint or changing opacity. All right, I have to take my opacity down a little bit more on that paper white to show through to work with. And I could play with all sorts of different values. So I could maybe make some in-between values that might be kind of fun to do. Like see about maybe taking my titles and making sort of a semi tinted or mixed title as an example. So maybe I'll go in and take this this black and take it down a little bit, maybe like a 75% tint. That's kind of cool. And if I like it, I'll make a new swatch out of that too. There's my black 75% tint. Just show you up close. There we go. So I go through the whole entire thing, pick all my spots where I have black, and perhaps work with that a little bit further if I wanted to. So the tones I've made so far are just all adjustments of either being pure black, pure the Pantone 395C color that we selected, or tints of both. The last one that I want to look at is, well, what if you want to kind of mix the two inks? Because keep in mind, we're only going to have two plates and two inks. We're going to have black, we're going to have Pantone 395C in this case. What if we want to make kind of a swatch that mixes those two plates deliberately instead of just values of one or the other? That's the last part I'm going to show you here. Is if you go to the little menu item on swatches and you select this and choose New Mixed Ink Swatch, what that's going to do is pop up a dialog box with all the color swatches that you have available. And basically what I can do is go in and say, all right, well, what colors do I want? I want black, and I want my Pantone color. And I want to make sort of a mixed tone out of the two. So maybe if I didn't want, like, let's say this tint value for my documenting disturbances subtitle, I could maybe make something that is a bit more black, but also has kind of a punch of that that Pantone value into it. So it produces a bit more of a brown with a little bit of that golden ink showing through. So I'll say OK. And I can also name this. I should mention that. Maybe I'll call this, I don't know, brown tone mix, and save it. What I can then do is reapply that swatch, and I should see the change take effect. 1 second, let me make sure I have the right one. Oh, my tint was at 50%, so they're retinted to 100%. So if I liked that, that may work a little bit better, and I think I do like that better, in fact. All right, so after doing this, we'd essentially be ready to go for export. But prior to going ahead and doing that export, I would just take one last check, utilize your separations preview window, go in and double check that if you have full CMYK printing on, there are no values of cyan, magenta, and yellow in there. So I'll do that just by turning off the black and Pantone color. And what I should see is essentially nothing. I should not see any cyan, any magenta, or yellow because we don't want those channels active. We're not going to output printing plates for that. I'll go back to my black and my Pantone color, and there we go. I have just those two, and I can turn them on and off and kind of get an idea of the ink coverage that we'll have within those. And there would be an awful lot of that bright yellow in this case. So after this, we're ready to output the PDF. Only this time I won't need to package the project at all because I've already set all the links up and everything in the duplicated, copied folder to create the Duotone. I will need to make a new PDF. So I'm going to export PDF X4 again. Make sure it's in my Duotone folder this time, not my color folder. We'll save it. I already had one there, so I'm just going to replace. I would then double check to make sure that I have things like my crop marks, bleeds applied. Under output, all I'm going to do different on this is I'm not going to work with any color conversion at all. We're just going to leave it all default. So there should be no color conversion. Basically, what that'll do is that will pass over both the black and that Pantone color in addition to it. We want to have that pass through. So I'm going to export, and it should come up looking basically like what we had on our setup, only exported. So I've got my Duotone converted images in the background. I have my all black text, and here I have my mixed ink text. I have my tinted Pantone text. I have my paper white, my tinted grays for my blacks, a few things to work with. So after this, you would go through the same process as you did for the color version. Make sure you zip compress the folder up and submit it for project submission.